So if you're thinking about visiting Nha Trang, you're gonna wanna watch this video first. So let's break out some of the pros of the city. Vietnam in general is very cheap, and Nha Trang is no different. Vietnam is actually cheaper than Thailand. Thailand is already quite affordable, but it's very tourist heavy. Whereas here in Nha Trang, you have an area where all the tourists are, but for the most part, you're gonna mainly see locals, as opposed to a place like Da Nang. We're gonna talk about Da Nang a lot because I think comparing these two cities is actually really smart. And there's this one really big building called Panorama where most people are going to stay. There's gonna be some issues with that hotel, which I'm gonna get to in a little bit too. One thing I do have to say though is that here in Nha Trang, there are a lot of pockets of really nice architecture. You're just driving around and randomly you have this little Ave Maria statue and it kind of looks like a church. I think it's a Catholic church. That's why Vietnam is so interesting, because it's such a mixed match of a bunch of different cultures and they're just randomly placed mixed with Vietnamese culture too. So you always find pockets of this kind of stuff everywhere. It has more of an island vibe compared to Da Nang, which is more of a city. Most of the touristy area is going to be around like a couple of blocks though. That's where most of the people are congregated. The quality of your stay and everywhere that you go is going to be a hit or miss, especially in the main hotel Panorama. That's where a lot of people stay. If you look online, the reviews are so inconsistent. The room that I stayed in was quite high, and honestly it was quite a nice room. I was expecting it to be way worse, but a lot of other people say that the furniture is really bad. There's a lot of like mold and problems with the carpet and cleanliness problems. Also, trying to check into this hotel, especially during peak hours, is a pain in the butt. Depending on where you book it, if you book it through Airbnb or through booking.com or through like other avenues, you kind of have a different line to check in for everybody. So it's very, very disorganized. I've saw people waiting in the lobby for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Da Nang has a beach, but it also has a river and it's more developed as a city, whereas this one felt more like an island. And once you got out of the tourist areas and you drove up and down the beach, there are certain areas where it's mostly nature and is quite untouched. So if you're into that vibe, Nha Trang might be a good option. One of the cool things though is that once you drive a little bit outside of the city to some of the cliffs, they have benches and some vendors will set up shop. You can buy drinks and they have a bunch of chairs. So you can sit down and look over the cliff and into the water. That is actually one of the best attractions there. You can only really do that for like a day or two, right? Before it gets old. Something that Nha Trang has going for it compared to Da Nang, the actual beach infrastructure with nature is really nice. The mountains add a lot to the vibe of the beach. And you have these like little islands things in between the beaches as well. So yeah, you have like these huge hotels and apartment buildings where everybody lives. Woo! It kind of reminds me of Santa Marta in Colombia. They have a similar structure of nature because it's like a beach right next to mountains, but the climate here is a lot more calm. It's a lot more relaxed, which is nice. The beaches are okay. They are clean in terms of like there's not a lot of trash everywhere, especially in the tourist areas. The water and the sand isn't exactly the best. There's a lot of overcast weather when you go there. The sand is not the cleanest. There's a lot of like coral and trees and stuff like that. There's a lot of people. You're gonna notice like it gets quite crowded, and the water isn't the most clean either. It's a nice beach city, but compared to Da Nang, I thought the beach in Da Nang was super clean, ridiculously clean actually. But it's still pretty solid if you want to go just to chill and relax. And there are a lot of beaches where you're gonna be around a lot of local people, which is also a cool experience. The food there is actually okay as well, right? You're gonna get a lot of local Vietnamese food, maybe some Russian and Korean cuisine mixed in here and there. But for the most part, I wasn't totally impressed. They did have some really cool seafood spots, which I thought were quite nice. So I got some razor clams with chili sauce. That's fire. Bok choy. This mantis shrimp that he's peeling for me, that's really good. And I also ordered some stingray. I'm gonna try that, see what that's like. Stingray, how the heck do you eat this? I was skeptical about it, but it's actually really good. The meat texture is kind of like crab. It's quite tasty as well. I thought it would be more like fishy. I was really curious about it, but it's actually really good. So all of that was $519. So $21. Nice, not bad, not bad. This city is quite walkable though, especially because all the touristy stuff is around the same areas. I highly recommend people getting a motorbike because a motorbike in Vietnam is very easy to get. It's not expensive, allows you to travel like all over the city. The traffic isn't so bad and crazy like Saigon or Hanoi. I would never want to bike in those cities. It's just way too complicated. So another problem you're gonna face in Vietnam is handling all of your technology stuff. Unfortunately, unlike Thailand, in Vietnam, most people do not speak English. So trying to handle this by yourself can be a hassle. I prefer handling all my phone stuff before arriving to a country. If you buy regular roaming plans, they are extremely expensive. They can range up to $100 per month. I'm happy to say that now it's easy to have data when you travel using my partner at eSIM.io. And it's actually incredibly easy to use. All you have to do is install the application, install the eSIM on your phone, buy whichever plan that you want to use, and voila, it works. Right now, eSIM.io has a 100% bonus campaign, which means that any amount that you put into your balance, they will also match. So if you put $20, you get an additional $20 without having to do anything. To take advantage of this deal, use code WES100. You can scan this QR code or use the link that we'll put in the description and the pinned comment.
So if you drive a little bit outside of the city, you get this beautiful view of the islands and the mountains. And this is what I mean. I think the nature in Nha Trang is actually better than Da Nang. So once you get past the initial strip of where all the tourist area is, the city itself is not really developed. It's like it's all concentrated in one area. I wonder if this is still in process, what it's gonna look like in 10 years from now, or if it's been like this for a while.
Because the population is not that high and because it's a beach city, you get a more laid back feel. When I went to Saigon, I felt like Saigon was really intense because it's more of like the financial area, whereas Hanoi was more of a cultural capital. I actually liked Hanoi more than I liked Saigon in a lot of ways. Those are both still big cities with populations of 8 million people. As far as day trips, you can go and visit some of the islands, which are nice, a little bit too touristy, and I think you can get better island experiences in Thailand. And they also have like this theme park there called Vin Wonders. Vinland is a popular theme park all over the country. They also have one in Da Nang, which is the bridge with the hands, which I'm sure you guys have seen. It's a cool thing if you're looking for something to do, but it's not a main thing that I would recommend for your itinerary. Let's talk about some of the cons. I think number one, there really isn't a ton to do in the city. At least in Da Nang, they had a couple malls and clothing stores where you're able to go and you can shop and do stuff. But in Nha Trang, outside of the main area, there's not really a ton to do. I visited a couple of the malls and the malls weren't that big. There isn't a lot of room for shopping either. After about a day or two, if you have a motorbike, you can pretty much see everything there is to see there. A lot of Southeast Asia just kind of has the same loop. Beach, food, rinse and repeat, right?
So I don't know if I could potentially spend a month here in Nha Trang. I think a week is good enough so you can get the vacation feel of everything. But I think at the end of the day, it's up to personal preference.
Nightlife there also is not that good. There are a couple of bars, but like I said, it's mainly filled with Russians and tourists. I think Thailand has much better nightlife in general because Vietnam is more of a conservative country. And in Thailand, there are a lot of other fun like entertainment options. And I think Thai food in general is just a lot better than Viet food.
So one of the downsides to the city too that I noticed, you kind of have the beachfront area. You have a bunch of hotels there, but as soon as you get outside of that area, the rest of the city is not really that developed. You still kind of get the mess and the low development of traditional like Viet cities.
Da Nang surprisingly had amazing infrastructure. The roads were nice, they were clean, they were freshly paved. Also, I don't like that the airport is really far from the city. It's about 45 minutes and you can take like a shuttle that takes you there. And the social vibe is not really made for backpackers or digital nomads. It's mainly catering towards Koreans and Russians. At least in Da Nang, there are a lot of Koreans there and a lot of Korean restaurants, but there are also pockets with a lot of digital nomads. So there's places where you can actually meet some of the other digital nomads. Nha Trang didn't really have that. You also will get gringo price for taxis or vendors. You have to be careful because scams are quite prevalent here. So who is Nha Trang for? In my opinion, if you are a digital nomad, there are actually better spots in Vietnam to go to, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. This spot seems to be extremely popular for Russians and Koreans. A lot of Russians who are escaping the war are also living there. If we were to compare Nha Trang to other cities, in terms of Vietnam, Da Nang is just a much better complete package for almost every single thing that you would want. It's more digital nomad friendly. There's a lot more cafes there that are meant for that, and there's a lot more food diversity. If you want something with more entertainment in a city that's more developed, I believe Phuket in Thailand is a much better option. And if you want that island vibe, you can go to the Thai islands. Compared to a place like Bali, Bali is extremely gentrified, but you're gonna find a lot of digital nomads. So if you want to network with other digital nomads, Bali is a much better place. So if you are spending a lot of time in Vietnam and you're kind of going from north to south like a lot of people do, it could be worth it to stay in Nha Trang for a couple days if you just want want to relax. And on a scale of 1 to 10, I have to give it probably like a 6 out of 10. Whereas Da Nang for me is a 9.5. But if you're short on time, I would recommend just skipping it. I don't think you should skip Da Nang though. I think Da Nang is one of the best cities in the world. What do you guys think? Do you agree with my assessment? Highly recommend you guys watch this video next. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.